Warning, if you're faint of heart or easily offended, this show is not for you.
You are completely over the ex?
Yeah, I've moved on from
You're
him.
happy?
I am
Relatively?
happy. No, well, like the happy ending to the story and why I think it's relevant to the conversation. First off, I'd like hinted at it before when like I've been on other podcasts or done other interviews. Like I had like sort of like a vague health crisis and like didn't really talk about the fact that like my fiance and I like broke up 6 months before our wedding and I lost my damn mind. But I think it's important because, you know, people that are watching this that like had sort of like a gap in their life and they think like, oh, it's like, it's over for me. Like I'm not, cause that's what I thought when I was going through it. Like I had so much potential. I had a degree from NYU.
Yeah.
I was like, writing. I was getting meetings with like agents and managers, and I was getting spots in comedy festivals for women, being on like headlining shows, and I just like my big break was coming. Like it was on its way down the pipeline, and I felt like I like blew my chance and my life was over, and that's sort of the happy ending that poker gave me.
All right, welcome to the Nick Vertucci Show. I am Nick Vertucci, and I am here with Caitlin Comeskey, all the way from Texas. Wow, yes. What a big haul for you, but you're going to be here for a couple days with me.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah,
we're going to get to know each other on the microphone.
Right. So it is the 14th of January, so because this may come out in a couple weeks because I have a lot of pods in the tank, so for everybody, this is January 14th. Caitlin has come down to be interviewed and to talk about what's up and who she is and her. You kind of have become kind of popular since the Jack 4 thing. Like you were popular anyways.
No, I'm more popular than I've ever been. Since musical theater camp when I was 13, I have not been this popular.
You've not been this popular?
No, it's very disorienting.
Everybody's getting a little piece of this action, right? You know what I'm saying? You're getting a piece of the action.
There's enough to go around.
Yeah. So you came down, we're going to do this, and then we have been talking, and we're going to also do another show that we're going to put out that you're going to co-host with me. And to your credit, I asked you, hey, do you mind putting together some bullet points of some things that are going on in the poker world and in life? And I have never seen a 4 or 5 page detailed frickin' summary like this in my whole life.
Yeah, it's so funny because of how I come off. I'm like a very outgoing, like center of attention personality. People don't assume that I'm like a type A, like like really high strung bitch type as well. But I'm both.
You're both.
I'm a beautiful tapestry.
Well, we do have people do have. I used to, when I was teaching and stuff, I talked about, when you're in business, there's different personalities and you have to understand them. And we actually used to make references to fish. There was the shark, the whale, the sea urchin, and the dolphin. And the shark is the type A personality, the go-getter. The whale is the, let's have fun. And if you're talking to them, they want to tell stories or they want to do business for, the good and to help and to give back. And then you have the sea urchins who can put together like this detailed analytical, they want to analyze everything. They're very thorough. And then you have the dolphin, which you have a lot of too, which just wants to like have fun and bounce a ball off its nose. So we're a little bit of all those personalities, right?
Yeah.
We're
also the barnacle on the boat.
Which ones are you dominant in?
I definitely feel like I've got the dolphin side of me that is, a little bit too creative. Like my home is very messy. Like I can prepare for things and I can work really hard and I can get very tense. Like about my poker study, I'm very intense and obsessive about, but I definitely also like my car is always a disaster. I'm way overdue for an oil change.
Yeah.
I need a new battery.
So you're not OCD.
No, there are definitely, areas of improvement where I'm still a disaster.
Yeah, and those things will probably always be an improvement because we have certain personality traits that we just are.
Well, I'm just like hoping that I'll meet a man eventually and then he'll just like take care of everything. Like he'll take my trash out and he'll keep my car maintained and then I'll just like give him a good Hummer every once in a while.
My life. A Hummer. Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, we're going to dig into your
that.
your dating life soon. But if the Hummers come up, they come up. That's going to be up to you. Let's start with the basics before we start talking about oral sex.
I think that's fair.
Should we get to know each other first?
I mean,
Shit, I don't.
If you want to be a little sensitive about it,
you want to be traditional? No, I don't really need to know you. But no, I'm kidding. All right, we ready? Oh, they're gonna go crazy. Yes, Caitlin is staying here for the next 3 days because, by the way, you're contemplating staying, and on today's the 14th, but on Tuesday, Robbie's going to be either coming in or calling in on Zoom, and so you might want to sit in with me and be part of that action.
I'm very excited. You know I love Robbie. She's one of a kind.
Yeah. So, okay. So, let's see. You're from Dallas originally and
from
you
Dallas.
had a religious upbringing.
Yeah, so my parents themselves aren't very religious. Like, we only went to church every now and then, but they sent me to a very religious school. It's Trinity Christian Academy in Addison, Texas. And I started there in kindergarten. And I was in that same private school all the way through to senior year. This is the type of school where we have, assemblies almost every single day, especially in high school, where there's like praise and worship and there's a sermon.
Wow.
And we had Bible class all the way through school. I think we read through the Bible twice. We read once through middle school and once in high school. So yeah, a lot. If you want to do a Bible trivia ever night, like I would be dominant, absolutely dominant.
Yeah, no, you were. Well, we'll give them a little insight too. So last night was Friday the 13th, right? Friday the 13th. I didn't realize that. And once a week, I play gin with my cousins. So it's teams, 2-on-2. And you were here last night, and you kind of sat around the table with us, and you watched Gin Night, and you were talking to one of my cousins. This subject came up, and he asked you a question about, I think, like, what's the first story? What's the first story in the Bible, or what's the first book?
The first book of the Bible,
what's
the last book.
What's the second to last? And instead of just answering his questions, you rattled off all the books in order.
Yeah.
Pretty.
You want me to do it for your fans?
Go.
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Esther, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther.
Wow.
Yeah, that's like halfway through the Old Testament.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you guys got any Bible trivia, Caitlin Comeskey's your girl.
Comeskey.
I go
You're trying to
Comeskey.
make it Polish, which is fine.
Well,
the Polish are a good people, but I'm
What's
Irish.
Comeskey Park?
Comeskey Park.
Comeskey.
When you add the in-ski, that's when it's
So you're
becomes
Comeskey.
Comeskey.
There's Comeskey, Kaminsky, and Comeskey.
Yeah. Can you keep that straight?
No, I'm just never going to say your last name.
Okay, we'll
again.
just say Caitlin from Texas then.
Caitlin
That's
C.
my branding.
Caitlin C.
I've been trying to like transition into people knowing me as Caitlin from Texas.
Is that
then
your
that way
new
they can
thing?
search for me easier, like digital marketing.
Oh, so that's
You
going to be
savvy?
that's going to be your new thing. Are you going to change?
It's not new. I bet like the name of my YouTube channel is Caitlin from Texas, and I like if I'm ever like making like a digital flyer or whatever, I try to use Caitlin from Texas just so people don't have to struggle with my
Yeah.
last name. Is it Polish? Is it Irish? Do we like her?
Got it. But you're Irish.
I'm Irish
You're
for the
Irish.
record.
Got it.
If I was Polish, I would own it too. But that's
Well,
just
yeah,
where I'm
I
from.
had a nice young gal in here that was Polish that sat with me for a while. So Polish,
Absolutely.
Irish, whatever, tomatoes.
Yeah, all my love to Veronica. Veronica was one of like the first people to find me on TikTok and like me. And good luck with your new job, Veronica. I'm sure
Yes.
Nick misses the bejesus out of you, but I know you're like a powerful woman in STEM,
That's
woman
right.
in tech, getting your bag. So get it, Veronica. But we
Yep.
do miss you. We miss
Yep.
you.
She's got things to do. She's doing them good. You went to New York University and you got a BA in theater?
BFA, yes.
What the hell is a BFA?
Bachelor in Fine Arts. So with the Bachelor in Fine Arts, it's just like a little bit more like practical classes, I guess. So I had like a lot of dance classes and voice classes. In the acting major at NYU, there are like 7 different acting studios, and you'll spend 3 days a week in your acting studio doing like your dancer, yoga, scene study, character, stage combat, all those different like actorly classes. And then 2 days a week, you're in academic classes. So to get the theater degree, you need a lot of theater history classes. So I studied the history of musical theater, especially in the golden era of musical theater. So if you get done with Bible trivia and you want to know about musicals of the 1940s or 50s, you want to talk Rodgers and Hammerstein, BB, I got you. And then And then I was actually a political science minor as well. So those were the classes I struggled in the most. Like I fell in love with this little old Italian man with a cardigan sweater. I just thought he was the cutest little communist I'd ever met in my life. And I told you this last night, like I grew up very, very conservative, and I was very much like beating the drum of Texas. Like I listened to Mark Levin and Rush Limbaugh every day. I was debating all the, New England kids about abortion.
The conservative points.
I was as red as they come when I got to NYU. And this little communist Italian man, he just adored me because I would sit up there and talk about be like a literal originalist of the Constitution. And it just made it very easy for him to illustrate his points, I guess.
Yes.
So he loved me, and I was a big participant in class, even though I was probably the dumbest one in that class by a mile, because everybody else in there was
you could be the dumbest one in class, but if the teacher likes you the most, you're printing grades, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I bet all those kids that are like lawyers and like business executives that took his class, they don't email him still. Mama does.
That's right.
Mama does. Right. But Pasquale, I miss you, baby.
His name's Pasquale.
Pasquale.
Got it.
Pasquale.
And so you sing, you dance, you act, you do impressions, which, by the way, has catapulted you into the public eye even more, because when we went through the Jack 4 stuff, you did impressions of me, of who else? Everybody. Who else did you do?
Robbie Jade Lou. Yeah. I did you of Joey Ingram, of course. Right. I made him extra Chicago. And a cocaine addict, which he is not. He still is mad at me over me acting like he eats boxed pizza, frozen pizzas, and cocaine.
We'll show you this clip. We'll put this clip up in a second. So yeah,
I got an 8-ball, a 6-pack, a Coors Light, and a deep dish pie. We're ready to go. We got a lot of people in the chat today gonna call in. We got a nice 12-hour stream. Hope you don't want to sleep. We got Robbie Jade Lou on the line at the center of this controversy. What do you got to say, Robbie, about the new allegations?
I was on a lot of medication for ADHD. I was born with a golden spoon in my mouth, and money just really doesn't matter to me. I'm like, sorry, get pressed about it.
What?
And
one thing that people don't know about the impressions is at my time at NYU, I was actually in the same acting studio and close to the same year as Chloe Fineman, who is now a regular on SNL, and she is known for her impressions as well. Wow. And so I had never been an impressionist coming up. That was sort of more her thing that I knew about. But I just had an idea for this video, and I went with it. And I've always been good at voices and imitating voices, but impressions hadn't been a thing that I had pursued, but I just went for it.
Do the one you did of me. Do you remember it?
I have a history in law enforcement. I don't want y'all to mess around. Hey, sorry. I need my sleep chocolates. I'm getting a little worked up. I'm a nice guy, but if you're going to get me worked up.
Pretty much. Yeah, and I watched some videos of you sing. Matter of fact, you were walking down the hallway a little while ago belting out a tune. You're pretty good.
Yeah, I'm stunning lyrically.
You're really good. So you have videos up of that, right?
I don't have that many
but a couple
videos up, but if you ever want to go, if you get the chance to do karaoke with me, y'all, you do not say no. Mama goes out full out.
Got it. And burlesque?
Yes, so I hosted a burlesque show for a lot of years in my 20s that I toured the country with. It was called Pinups on Tour, which is still a brand that is in existence today. You can check out their website. And they provide free entertainment for active duty and veterans. So any active duty and military veterans are welcome to attend our show for free, and then civilians can pay the door price. And we provide nightlife entertainment for our soldiers. 22 of our servicemen are lost every day, and it was a really noble cause that I was proud to be a part of, and being able to connect with people that are in a really hard time in their life trying to assimilate back into society after time overseas. So I'm very proud of the work that I did with that brand. Cool. It was sort of like a USO Americana themed, and I talked about this before, but in LA, when you're pursuing stand-up, it's really hard to get time on stage to get better. And
most people didn't know you did stand-up till right now.
Yeah, I do stand-up comedy as well. That's sort of what brought me into the burlesque. I started doing stand-up during burlesque shows as just the comedian interlude, and then my friend needed a host, so I learned how to do that as well. But it was like USO themed and Americana, and I couldn't get stage time back in LA doing like open mics. You get like 3 minutes here, 7 minutes there. Maybe you're lucky if you get 10. When I was like the host of the burlesque show, you know, I'm introducing the show, I'm warming up the crowd, I'm in between every single performer. I get like as much time to do. I could do between 20 and 30 minutes of stand up and musical comedy if I wanted to, and then I did some like audience participation bits as well. So those years on the road, I really got that invaluable stage time where I felt very, very on top of my crowd work and my material, and yeah, invaluable years.
That's pretty cool. You have a relationship you're in right now with a pufferfish.
Yes. I have a porcupine pufferfish,
Yeah.
and he's the only one in my saltwater tank that has a name. I've never named anything.
What's
I have
his
lots
name?
of corals. Stimpy. I named him Stimpy, like from Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah. You guys have a thing?
Yeah, he's a big dumb idiot, and
You
he
like
just
big dumb idiots?
almost exclusively.
I love it. I love it. Any of you big dumb idiots out there, put your applications in.
Yeah.
You sing, you play the ukulele.
I do.
Oh
yeah.
my
So
God.
when I did stand up, I did musical comedy. So if I was doing like 15 minutes, I'd probably do like 3 short little songs in addition to my jokes in between.
Oh my God, you're like the entertainer 10Xer.
Yeah, that's my Myers-Briggs personality as well, to the surprise of no one, the entertainer.
You told me that you are the worst, wretched, most awful person in dating. Like
Yeah.
you're the worst.
I'm really bad. I almost exclusively only like guys that are indifferent to me, which is worse than liking guys that dislike you. I think so.
Indifference is the worst possible
It's
reaction
really,
you
like-
can get from anybody.
But honestly, if you want me to be obsessed with you, like tell me that you think I'm like really fun friend to be around, but that you don't want to date me, and then you will become my obsession, and I will try to do everything.
So that works. So rejection is your thing.
Rejection really turns me on.
Yeah. So you get rejected and you just sliding all over the place. I
Yeah.
get it.
Because like who likes nice people that are just like into you
Why
and
is
just
it
like
li-
available?
Caitlin, why is it like that?
I think it's like it's a poker girl thing too. Like Melissa Schubert, Poo Dog Melissa, and I talk about this a lot. How like neither one of us are attracted to like kindness or men that are obsessed with us at all. Like if you want to spend time with us and like be really sweet, and we also think it's really, or I specifically think it's really suspicious when guys will go on like 2 or 3 dates with you and not even kiss you. I'm like, are you gay?
Right.
Like, I think it's really weird. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm a whore, but I just think it's so weird. Like, there's this one guy I play poker with back in Austin, and he's always taking girls to brunch for a first date. And I'm like, how are you going to make out after a mimosa, you
Yeah.
weirdo? And then, like, he was like, yeah, we went on like 5 or 6
Just
dates
trying
before
too
we
hard.
had sex. And I'm like, what? If a guy, okay, so I did actually date a guy in Texas who took me on 5 or 6 dates before we had sex. And first of all, the sex was terrible. Terrible. Like some of the worst sex I've ever had. I don't know why he made me wait so long. And 2, like I genuinely, like it made me think he was gay. I was like, you're just like clearly not interested in women.
Well, maybe he knew it was going to be terrible and just wanted to hold out because every time he has sex with someone, no one goes out with him again. What okay.
That tracks.
Could it be it? Yeah.
That tracks.
What was terrible about it? Be specific. Like what? So I know sometimes you just don't have chemistry, but
Oh my God.
what mechanics were bad?
Well, first of all, once I got him naked, I realized like he was hairless like a dolphin, and he like had really thick eyebrows. So that was not natural.
So he had no hair on his body but his eyebrows.
Well, like, yeah, like he had dark hair and he had like thick eyebrows
But
and
then he was
thick
just,
facial
like-
hair. So like I knew he was growing hair, but then like once I was like under the covers, I was like, okay, like where's your chest hair? Where's the hair on your
Did he
back?
take
Where's
it
the hair?
off?
I didn't feel it.
Really? Not even like stubble? Like maybe he had some kind of disease where all his hair fell off.
Alopecia?
But not on his head or his face or his eyebrows.
I mean, I don't know.
How
but
thick were his
he
eyebrows?
was smooth. I don't know. I need men to be like the
You
masculine,
like
rough
men's
one.
men, right?
Like if I get you in bed and you're softer and like smell better than I do, then that
Yeah.
makes me insecure, and I don't like that.
Yeah. So you don't want someone completely manscaped. You want a man to be a man.
Yeah, I prefer
Yeah.
a man.
I prefer a
I
man.
prefer a man.
So how thick were his eyebrows? Like if there was a Velcro wall, would he get stuck on it? Or
Yeah, like he looked Scottish. Like if
Right.
I had to guess his heritage, I'd say like Scottish.
If you had to guess his heritage.
Scottish.
His heritage. I have a video that I'm going to send you about people who talk like that.
Yeah,
Did you
vocal
ever-
fry,
have
people
you
that
ever-
live here in California.
Have you ever seen it? Because there's this there's this video of a guy walks up to this gal getting a coffee, and I'll put the link in so they can see it. And he's like, "I'd like a black coffee." She goes, "You want room for cream?"
Do you want room for cream?
And he goes, "Yeah," like knocking her, and then they go back and forth, and she goes, "Why are you talking like that?" He goes, "Why are you talking like that?" Because he was knocking her, and I'll put the link in. It's freaking hysterical.
I've seen that. Actually, now that you're saying it, I think my friend Jules sent me that one. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like making fun of the way women talk too terribly bad, but we do sound dumber than shit sometimes.
Well, I'm not making fun of women. Let's be clear.
No, the way we talk.
Me talk.
What men talks like this, Nick?
That's right. It's women. And
women.
And what he said in the video, it's the two women that talk like that are either very rich women or very young women. So you're young.
No, I mean, that's why my sort of like my Texas accent comes and goes and my voice changes, is because I went and I got actor training.
Well,
and
you're an
they
impressionist.
really tried to get my voice like neutral. So like, for instance, in the Texas accent, like when I showed up and I would try to like have a neutral voice, they would really get on to me about the sound change. So like, what number is this?
Me? 10.
Yeah. 10, right? You say 10. People that aren't from the South say 10, but people in Texas, we say 10.
10.
We say 10.
It's 10 and a half.
When are we going? We going there then? We're going then to win?
Yeah. I like that accent.
I mean,
I don't hate it.
that's my natural accent. If you want me to sound extra Texan for you,
It's up to you. You should probably lean into that. Yeah.
I do for the most part, but I used to, and then people started being like, I started to get a little blowback of like, oh my God, Caitlin's so fake. She's not like really from Texas, and like that's just like her like putting it on or whatever.
Yeah.
And made me insecure.
Yeah. Well, you know. So, okay. So you like men's men. You mentioned you like bigger guys. You don't want a little small guy.
I need a big boy.
Okay. A big boy. He's got to not smell as good as you. He's got to have some hair on his balls.
And that's a high bar, by the way. I don't want to act like I smell like a barnyard.
Yeah. Let's see. What else? And they need to be indifferent and reject you. And then you just want to jump their bones. Like if they're nice to you, it's a real
people are going to be so mean to me, and it's not going to go well for them.
I know. Yeah. Where's the line of like they got to give some positive for you to like feel like you at some point, right?
So here's the thing. I'm sort of being facetious with the whole like I like men that are indifferent. For me, I think that's more just like a psychological thing. Like you want things you can't have.
Well, that is true. That's what I'm saying. People do.
100%. But like on paper, I do like guys that are like obsessed with me.
Right. Obsessed with you, but don't need you.
Yes. I don't want to be a mother. It's bad to be a mother.
You don't want to be like, oh, they're needy.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the question that we never answered is what mechanically was bad about this guy besides being like a shaved cat?
There just like wasn't any chemistry. Like I don't know. It just felt awkward. And I don't want to say like he was very athletic, like good looking, like I don't date uggos. Like he's very athletic, good looking, like smart guy.
Was it just a chemistry thing?
I don't know if it was chemistry.
Yeah, or he just didn't
very awkward
know where
sex.
everything was.
He was very aware of the pumps and
He what?
I'm like, I'm just
No.
like they're like it's just.
Go no. Now you got to say whatever it is you're saying.
No, you know, like the pumps. You know what I mean? When
He
I mean
was aware
pump.
of it, or you
No,
were?
I was. I was just very aware of like, oh God, like time. Like it was very quiet in the room. Like I could hear the ceiling fan.
Yeah, like you were
and the
counting them.
sheets rustling.
You were counting them as like
rustling.
1, 2, 3. Please
I was very
end
not in
4,
the moment with this
5.
guy.
Please end 6. I'm giving you to 45, and then this is over. Something like that.
That guy's so funny. We're still on good terms. He's still like my Instagram buddy, and he'll hit me up every once in a while. But he's always like negging me. Like he only.
Oh, he negs you.
Oh, he negs.
Did you read
me
the
like
book, The Game?
crazy. No, but
How do
he
you know about
probably
negs?
did. Because guys neg me constantly. Constantly. And if you're in my Instagram DMs, you're probably being like, moo. I don't even know what they're saying. I just know the tone is like,
if they had a tone translator, it would sound like that.
Yeah, 100%.
So, but where did you hear the term negging?
Negging? I feel like that's in the American lexicon. Like everybody knows.
So there's a book called The
negging.
Game.
I've heard of it.
Lee
yeah.
Strasberg, maybe Strauss something.
Strasberg was an acting teacher.
Well, there's this guy's Lee Strasberg or something. He wrote the book The Game, and it's all about picking up women. And one of the terms in there was negging. So like if you get a really high quality woman who's hot that gets hit on like every 5 seconds, you can't come in with the, oh, you're so pretty and beautiful. Would you like to have a drink and I can bring you a flower? She'd be like,
yeah.
Right? So if you go there and go, hey, you just didn't care about the makeup tonight, huh? How you doing? I'm Nick. You know, and they're like, whoa, no one's ever said that to me, but because you're not fawning all over them, the neg is for the high quality woman. Or really any woman. I know. That's what it says in the book.
Well, I feel very high quality because people tell me I look like dog shit all the time.
Wow, they really must like you.
I know.
That's why they're doing it.
It's because I'm popular.
Don't take it as a negative. Okay. Now, you did share something with me yesterday that blew me away, and you said I could ask you about this. This is not something I would surprise you with. I want everyone to know that.
Nick is about to bully me.
Yeah, I'm going to totally bully you. You were had a fiance.
Yeah, I was engaged.
And you got snap dumped. Like
we broke up, yes.
Blocked, everything. And you went nuts.
I did.
Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah. So I was engaged to be married in 2016 to a wonderful guy. He's a great guy. If you're out there watching, I doubt you're watching this because, you've cut me off. But he was a nice guy. He was we met in LA. He was in the entertainment business. He's an art director, works in the art department. He worked really long hours. We were together for like 5 years. And, we had sent out the save the dates to our wedding. We had planned the whole event. And we broke up 6 months before the wedding. And I lost my damn mind.
Like literally, though.
Yeah, like literally.
Like it's not like a figure of speech.
No, like I was institutionalized
like
for
you
several
had a nervous
years.
breakdown.
Yeah,
for how many years?
Breakdown. I was in and out of treatment for 2 years. 2 whole years where I maybe spent 60 days outside of an inpatient care facility.
Oh my God. Mm-hmm. So that, and this is a real thing. Like people go through this when they go through shit like this, right? And you obviously went to the barometer, went to the very end, the needle went all the end and you snapped. But what type of, and this is just curious for me, what kind of treatment gets you out of that? Like, I know that it's probably consistency over time equals success and you have to keep going through the same processes, but like, what type of things do you do? Do you work on your self-esteem? Because a lot of it, rejection, when people get rejected, it's a real tough nut to swallow, right?
Yeah.
And that's usually, like we talked about, like if guys don't pay attention to you or they're this or that, but it's along that same lines where, like, sometimes you could be in a relationship with someone and actually not want to be in the relationship, literally, because there's nothing that it brings to the table. But if that same person that it's better for you not to be with them actually rejects you, you want to be with them. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. So he cut me off and he got all the friends too. And I just felt like very alone and like I had ruined my life. I went to several different types of treatment facilities. I went to a couple of like bougie rehabs. I went to like a bougie mental institution. I went to less bougie treatment centers after that. Yeah. But in terms of like what really helped me, I never really felt at home with the recovery community and the 12-step and all that. And the longer I was in treatment, the more like desperate and sad I got because like, oh, it's not working. Like I can't get back to my life. Like at first, when you first go in, you're like, I'll like go for 30 days. Hope. Like I'll get a little, I'll dry out. I'll get a little more confidence. I'll feel better and I'll go back. But it just like, it kept stringing on and I kept like struggling and but in terms of like what really helped me and the things that I use today, do you know about dialectical behavioral therapy?
I don't.
So dialectical behavioral therapy is like a behavioral therapy that helps people with depression, borderline personality disorder, all these different depression and anxiety disorders. And it's more, I think the main component to it is mindfulness, like being present, being in the moment. So a lot of the exercises, like one of the more common exercises you'll see is name 5 things you see, name 4 things you hear, name 3 things you can touch, 2 things you smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And that's like a way to center yourself, get yourself back into the moment. If you're in like a moment of crisis, describing the things around you, like I'm at this wood grain table, I see like tan and brown, and that's a black spot. And it's a way to like get yourself out of the crisis and into like the physical realm. So there's an element of mindfulness. There's also an element of interpersonal effectiveness. So they teach you how to like better listen to people. And then cognitive behavioral therapy is sort of in the same like family of this, and it has more to do with like negative thoughts and negative loop patterns that we get stuck into. So for instance, like if you're struggling in your poker game and you're like, I'm never gonna win, I'm always gonna get sucked out on, I'm never, like this like always never type thinking. And so these types of behavioral therapies, there's like a lot of, it's not just like talk therapy. I felt like when I was younger and struggling with depression, my parents would just send me to talk therapy and put me on Prozac, and it just I feel like I stayed the same, if not got worse. But when I went into treatment and I learned more about these sort of proactive skills that you can use, that was just like definitely more effective long term for me and getting me into a place where I can be successful and find a new life, because I didn't know that that was going to be possible for a while.
So when you heard about this and you started leaning into those techniques, that's when you started getting better?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, so I have kind of complicated feelings about like inpatient treatment in general. I feel like in a lot of ways, it's just like families with money, they don't know how to like be emotionally available for their family member, and they can just kind of like shove you away, and like you make them better and you come back when you're normal again. Yeah. And then also just like the experience is very, you know, humbling. Like they want to build, you know, strip you of everything, build you, like tear you down to build you back up. Yeah. And like in most of the treatment centers I went to, it was very bougie and very comfortable. So I don't want to act like I was, you know, like forced to like hike at 5 a.m. or like, you know, scrubbing floors with a toilet brush or what, like toothbrush. That wasn't my experience. Yeah. But it does rob you of a little bit of your humanity and a little bit of like that fire, that passion, that spark when you spend so long in an inpatient facility on this like schedule and all this group therapy. And like a huge part of especially like mental institutions, like mental health facilities, is it's like group therapy. Like a huge way that they're observing you is how you're interacting with the other people. So like a lot of the times you spending very, very, very little time with the actual like doctors and social workers and like, you know, license, you know, they have a very high hourly and they have to see, you know, you get like 1 hour with them a week, but most of the time you're, you know, with like a minimum wage employee who is trying to manage your interpersonal effectiveness and communication with people that are just as sick, if not sicker than you. And that's not optimal. In my opinion, I don't know. I just like having gone through it myself, I don't know, but like some people need that, you know, some people are like absolutely, like there was one girl who I was in that mental institution with who was like punching the walls constantly, and they had to like, you know, physically restrain her a lot. And like she probably needed inpatient care. Yeah. I have to let Clint in, so we'll take a quick break. I want to dig into that. That's like really interesting to me. And, and I want to maybe have you help. Okay. So here's my question to all that. My question I understand what you're saying is that portion maybe for you was like not totally optimal. But if you didn't go into this process, would you be who you are today? Would you be okay? No, I think that's absolutely fair. And that was my journey. And I think that I met a lot of really amazing people in treatment. The sad part about treatment is you don't really, because it's such like a shameful time in your life, right? There's still a lot of shame around like getting treatment or needing treatment or struggling. So I feel like a lot of those relationships you don't get to like carry on. The people I'm closest with were actually the people from the mental institution, because like rehab, when it's like we're here for substance treatment, then like maybe it's harder to maintain relationships. But the people that I was in the mental health facility with, who are all like younger than me, so I was like really maternal to them. It's been really fun to like, you know, watch them grow up, so to speak, since I'm, you know, they're elder. But I don't regret it, and I think it was really important, and you're right. It made me who I am today. Yeah, our past, you know, there's a lot of things that we've all went through. I went through so many things, and they do build who you are today. They dictate who you are. Of course, how you handle them and how you get through it
will dictate that too, because we all have to make choices about what direction we're going. Because you could have made choices to say, I'm not going to do that, and you could have spiraled into just an absolute nothing burger in life. I mean, there's like these crossroads in life, how you handle adversity and these tough times.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And a huge reason why I had to go, especially to like the rehab facility, was I was working at Starbucks in between. So I went to one treatment center. I was like back in Texas, like working at Starbucks, just like hating my life, trying to, just get through the days. And I went to buy weed from my coworkers because weed is not legal in Austin. You have to buy it, whatever. And this motherfucker sold me K2. Do you know what that is?
No.
So it's a synthetic weed, and they don't really know what's in it. There could be strychnine in it, rat poison. Like we don't really know what it is, but it like absolutely fries your brain. So I smoked he didn't tell me it was K2. Obviously, he was just he wanted to make $50 off me, like literally.
That's
we were working at
thing,
Starbucks.
Boys and girls, you can't just snort or puff anything anyone gives you.
Exactly. It was a really harsh lesson for me. But anyway, I hallucinated very intensely because I smoked like a whole giant cone of the shit.
Damn.
And so I like literally thought Robin Williams was in the room with me. I called the paramedics on myself, and I got like put in handcuffs and like brought into a holding cell because I was like a danger to myself because I was hallucinating.
Yeah, they
and tripping so
5150'd
hard.
you.
Well, that's not what it's called in Texas, but like, yeah, I was like put in handcuffs and like taken from my own home.
For your own good, yeah.
And then they brought me to the PICU, which is the psychiatric intensive care unit. I have memories of being like held down and sedated because I literally I thought I was on another planet.
Jeez.
And I probably stayed hallucinating or like not myself. Like there was like a gap between me and the physical realm for months. And I probably wasn't like truly myself for a year after that.
After smoking that. Damn.
Like I was actively hallucinating for probably 2 months, like actively
On
like
and off?
like I had trouble taking grips with reality. Like I remember
you
walking
scared
around
shitless?
Treat Me. I was scared all the time. I remember, and I was like, I also thought I was delusional too. There was like a delusional thing. Like I remember walking around treatment with this other guy who was probably still struggling with whatever, garbage he put into his body. And I was like, we're going to run this place. We're going to take him down
You're
for
like,
the inside.
Is that Robin Williams? He's like, fuck yeah, it is. And you guys were on the same page.
Yeah, no, I remember going for like a nature walk with him and just like we really thought that we were gonna take down Russia or something.
Yeah, you were gonna solve all the world's problems.
Yeah.
Well, that's what hallucinogens do to you is they bring you into this deep state of thinking and thinking you can do things that you can't do or fix. Yeah, that's true. Wow. Man, that's heavy. I honestly thank you for sharing that. That's really personal and it's not like, I mean, I don't know if anyone would all share that, but that's cool because there might be a lot of people out there that need to hear that because, like, you're fine right now. You're good. Like,
oh my God. I'm doing
great.
Amazing.
No more hallucinogens.
No
more
I still
hallucinating.
smoke weed. I still smoke weed.
And you are completely over the ex.
Yeah, I've moved on from
You're
him.
happy?
I am happy.
Relatively?
No. Well, like the happy ending to the story and why I think it's relevant to the conversation. First off, I'd like hinted at it before when like I've been on other podcasts or done other interviews. Like I had like sort of like a vague health crisis and like didn't really talk about the fact that like my fiance and I like broke up 6 months before our wedding and I lost my damn mind. But I think it's important because, people that are watching this that like had sort of like a gap in their life and they think like, oh, it's over for me. Like I'm not, because that's what I thought when I was going through it. Like I had so much potential. I had a degree from NYU.
Yeah.
I was like, writing. I was getting meetings with like agents and managers, and I was getting spots in comedy festivals for women, being on like headlining shows, and I just my big break was coming. Like it was on its way down the pipeline, and I felt like I like blew my chance and my life was over. And that's sort of the happy ending that poker gave me, is that I had sort of given up on myself. I was literally working in a hotel, just like suicidal, living for my parents, just being like, I don't have the stones to leave this earth because I love my family and I feel accountability to them. And poker really gave me something to live for again. It made me happy again. It brought me friends again. And it didn't happen overnight. It wasn't like a switch that happened, but like slowly over time, I melted into who I am today and filled with like so much hope and possibility. Like I'm sitting here on one of like the more popular poker podcasts in existence. And I have all these opportunities in this new life because
Yeah.
of poker, because, you know, I wasn't willing to give up on myself. So I tell the story to like give hope to others that are struggling.
Yeah, I think that's really great that you do that. And ironically enough, this will be played after Poker Bunny I interviewed, and so they'll already have watched this when I said this, but
Yeah.
she was struggling big time, a little bit different reasons, and her exact same thing she said is poker saved her.
Yeah.
Like literally saved her, gave a purpose to live, gave her something to.
It was so nice to see her on Max Payne Monday,
She was
looking
really
so tan
looking so good,
and like
right?
full of
like
life.
normal, just secure.
Yeah, I don't know her personally, but it was really nice to see that arc.
Even when we did our piece, she was really leveled. She's in a good place, and I'm really happy for her because you know she took a lot of heat for her manic behavior, but she's a really good person. And
I hope that like if you're watching this and you're one of the absolute creeps that is like rooting against her and her replies, like go jump off a bridge. Like people struggle, people make mistakes, people are mean, and people are allowed to change and grow. So fucking give her a break. She's like 24 years old and she's gonna do great things for our community. So lay off.
I agree, and I'm a big proponent of treating people like that, regardless, especially someone,
100%, yeah.
especially somebody that's in need of support. Wow. Well, speaking of poker, you currently had mentioned to me that you currently are in a little mini poker hospital. Mm-hmm. You have grinded. You play poker now for a living for 2 years. You're supporting yourself, which is hard to do playing poker. So kudos to you. But we all understand variance. You mentioned trying to step up a little bit of your bankroll, and then you hit a little variance, and now you're like, you want to tell us about that and the emotional part of that too?
Absolutely. So my first year in poker, I spent a lot of time like working with clubs and game organizing, and I was truly like a 1-2, 1-3, 2-5 grinder, and I was making pretty decent money. I had a very good hourly, and I was, working with a club to help their social media and their websites and get people through the doors, and I was more on like the business side of things. After that club decided to sell, and I had the opportunity to be like, okay, well now I get to be like pursue my dreams of like starting a vlog and like being a personality and standing on my own 2 feet. So that was this last year, 2022. I was very, very fortunate. I had sort of like my back up against the wall. My bankroll was not in a good spot, and I got second place in a tournament for $60K at the lodge. And then that enabled me to sort of like start taking shot takes in these 2040 games. I was able to do Max Payne Monday and be on a lot of these Match the Stack 2, 5, 10 games at the lodge and the other Texas clubs. And some of the shot takes went my way and some of them didn't. And my bankroll got a little bit depleted. And right when I needed it, I got second place again in the same tournament series at the lodge for another $55K. And that was right on Halloween, right at the end of October, right after the viral video and stuff happened. And then I went through a hard time. I was really overwhelmed by the new popularity that I've received because of the success of my viral video and my vlog and stuff. I don't have the same advantage of like anonymity and people underestimating me that I did before. Right. So that learning how to adjust to that in the live poker setting in concert with shot taking in these bigger games, it hasn't gone my way. And you know what? That's just poker. Like, that's bankroll management. Like, you have the money to take some shots, and if they don't go your way, then it's time to go back down and grind it back up. So that's where I am in like the immediate now. When I leave here, I'm going to go to Vegas and I'm going to grind some of these mid-stake games that don't exist so much in Texas yet. And maybe I can work with some of the game organizers, or I can start organizing games that more better fit where I need to be in my bankroll. Because right now in Texas, we have very, very strong 1-2, very, very healthy 1-3 community. The 2-5, it starts to get a little shoddier, and it starts to get, those games aren't as stale. No one's working to make sure that those games are fun and, have people that we want to play with them in those games. So no one's really curating those games right now. Maybe I can take on a role in the future and create those games for myself in Texas. But right now they don't really exist in a way that I need them to rebuild my bankroll. So I'm going to go to Vegas and maybe some other places where these games at the size that I need to rebuild my bankroll will be.
Got it. 1 second. Break, because I'm going to cough my brains out. All right. So let me ask you about that a little bit. So you built your bankroll up. You went a little bit up in stakes, like we talked about bankroll management. Do you think ultimately that's a mistake? Do you think that that's something players should do? How do you feel about it now? Like, say you build your bank, you go back, you find the 5-10 game or whatever it is, and you grind your way back up. You win a couple more tournaments or come in second. Do you do the same thing again? Do you shot take into the bigger games, or do you approach this different next time?
I think a goal that I need to make for myself personally this year is to get more comfortable selling action in cash settings, especially. So for my bigger tournament buy-ins, I'm very comfortable with like asking for staking, and I have like a group of people that I go to. But in terms of getting staking for my shot takes and big cash games, I definitely need to, because it's hard, it's hard to be vulnerable and ask for help, and asking people for money is like very uncomfortable for like a cat, like, hey, I'm going on Hustler Casino Live, you want to you just give me money, and but truthfully, I have access to, a lot of really good games, and people would be willing to stake me. So I think a goal that I should set for myself for 2023 is finding a comfort with that, and that I don't have to do it all on my own, because especially like my first year, 2 years in poker, I really only sold action for my very, very biggest shot takes and tournaments, and I was bearing all of the brunt of the other shot takes by myself. And I think moving forward, I definitely should take advantage of some of the relationships I have and the people that want to support me and are willing to support me to not just take all that risk on myself. It's very empowering to take it all on yourself and be like, fuck y'all, I'll do it my damn self, and I'll take care of myself, and I don't need no man. But I just think, like, in terms of like longevity and increasing my opportunities of long-term success, I definitely need to improve in that area.
Do you feel differently? I know, look, I don't ever sell action. Sometimes I do a % or two.
Well, you're rich as fuck.
Well, okay, but my point is on Stake King. Is it Stake Kings? Whatever it is.
The one Hustler has a relationship with.
Yeah,
Stake
I
Kings.
should know there is.
You
Stake
should fucking know.
Kings. Shout out to Stake Kings. Sometimes I'll put a couple % up there just for kicks, and honestly, it makes me feel pressure because I don't want anyone to lose. So like, if
so much harder to lose for other people.
If I were to need to have to sell action, I just feel like I would feel differently about decisions I was making, because I would just feel like pressure. I would rather lose my money than someone else's money. Like,
I think we all would.
We all
it's
would.
So
Yes,
hard to
I'm
be
not special. Believe me. Yeah,
you're not fucking special.
I'm definitely not. Like, I'm so cool. I would rather no. But I'm saying, if you do that, do you think it'll affect how you play?
I think it could. I mean, I have a lot of goals for poker besides getting more comfortable with selling action, and a lot of them are around mindset. I'm ironically actually. Before, I was like a total exploitative player that didn't really know what I was doing. And this year I've worked really hard over the last year to sort of get my bearing. I do have individual coaching. He doesn't want credit, but he gets all the BB. You change my life every day. You're an amazing coach. You're an amazing friend. And thank you. And I wish you'd let me scream your name from the mountaintops, because you're very, 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 very important to me. Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway,
and I know who you are, and I love you.
We love you.
Yeah.
No, but a lot of my goals are around mindset, because I do have such like an amazing coach that has really helped me with my understanding of, the strategic heuristics, that a lot of my goals have to do with mindset. And that used to be one of my strengths before I didn't know what the hell I was doing theoretically or strategically. I just sort of like knew how to read people and be in the moment and stay calm. And now that I have, a lot more plates spinning in the air based on, my knowledge of strategic play, now it's sort of like the pendulum has swung the other way, and now my weakness is in a different area. So I think like intense exercise super helps with my mood swings. And so like me taking spin classes and making time for cardio is extremely important for me and my mental game, and not only just like my personal mental health and like being the best version of myself to those in my life, but also showing up to the poker table in the way that I want to. Yeah.
And I know I've talked about this with someone that I work with too, and it's like, I don't like to eat healthy. I just don't. I'm Italian. I like Italian food. I like to eat. I don't care about all the rules. But I will say, I don't know tell me if you do this or if this affects you, but like if I go play poker and I eat like shitty or greasy or a big bowl of like pasta or whatever, like my brain gets like totally foggy if I do what all these nerds do now.
Where are you eating that you're eating a big bowl of pasta at the poker table? What is this, a Hustler? They got pasta bowls?
Well, I mean, the Hustler does have a good angel hair and meatballs, and but and they have burgers. And so, to my point is, that's what I would prefer than over the chicken breast or the salmon. But do you eat differently when you're playing to keep your mind more clear? Or because I know exercise makes you feel more clear. It releases so many different things in your body. But is diet a factor for you too? Because a lot of real serious poker players are very serious about what they eat, especially when they're playing.
Yeah. So the one thing I didn't talk about when I was being vulnerable and talking about my different treatments and all that, one of the treatment facilities I was at was actually for an eating disorder. That's been like the largest thing that I've struggled with is eating disorders. So what
type?
All of them.
Okay.
The gross kind, the clean kind.
Yeah,
like
all of them.
I've had bulimia where I purged. I've had bulimia where I took diuretics. I've had bulimia where I over-exercised. I've had anorexia where I don't eat for a month. I've had, like I've had binge eating disorder where I don't, it's just,
I get it.
You're my trauma. But so a huge like stalwart or like scaffolding of my life is intuitive eating, along with the DBT and CBT therapies we were talking about earlier. And intuitive eating, you just like, it's again about mindfulness and staying in the moment. So my meditation practice is absolutely invaluable.
Good.
And started when I get dysregulated, unregulated, I forget what the word is. A lot of times it's because I'm not exercising or meditating. I do meditate.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. Mm-hmm. That's great, man. You really got your shit together.
I try.
That's good.
I try. But yeah, with intuitive eating, it's just a matter of like checking in with your hunger fullness cues and trying not to have like good foods or bad foods. And because I've had like forms of bulimia and anorexia where I like write down every little thing that I've ever had, I don't think it's very like useful or safe for me to be tracking macros or calories or whatever, just because I've had an abusive relationship with that in the past. So I just try to eat when I'm hungry and stop when I'm full. And a huge part, if I like want to focus on weight loss or like taking care of my body, is like limiting alcohol. And that's something I've gotten a lot. I was a heavy drinker for my first 2 years of poker, and I definitely like cut back and tried to be a little bit more healthy with that, just because it takes care of my body.
Well, you drank a big healthy pour of some scotch last night.
It's like oh my gosh, don't drink 3 ounces of scotch in front of him, judgy.
Totally judgy.
And I didn't pour it.
Oh my God. I have a shirt that says I beat anorexia.
Oh,
because I crushed it. I'm recovered. God, for everyone who has anorexia, is that a bad joke?
Probably.
Sorry.
I don't know. I don't think anyone with anorexia is watching your podcast, though, Nick.
I'm sorry. Right.
I think they're watching like Call Her Daddy or
yeah.
They don't care about the Vertucci podcast.
Them and a lot of other people don't.
Yeah.
So, okay. Poker heroes, poker idols. Who's your poker heroes and idols? Who do you admire, past, present, future?
Okay, so first name that comes to mind is Jamie Kerstetter. I think she does so much to grow the game in a positive way for women. I've talked about her before. I don't want to, suck her dick too hard, but she's amazing. She's been a great friend to me. Like Veronica, she was one of the first people to, sort of discover that I was making funny content in the poker space and shine a light on me. So I'm forever indebted to her. But I just think she's like really smart and really funny and really creative. Yeah. So Jamie's the first name that comes to mind. Marley and Melissa are just like close friends of mine that are also making funny content in the poker space, and getting to know them has been like such a privilege, and being able to bounce ideas off of each other and support each other when we deal with like trolls or different relationships or different issues. Them in my life is amazing. And then in terms of like the old guard, I've gotten to play with Kathy Liebert a few times. I love her. She's no nonsense. And I like that she's sort of like, GTO. If you're playing GTO, you're making a lot of assumptions that everyone around you is playing GTO. But if you're playing GTO and I'm not, how are you going to react to me? So I kind of like that she's been resistant to the new wave of, theoretical study that have come into poker, and I just think she's like a really cool lady who's never been anybody but herself. So I have all the admiration for her in the world. Love you, Kathy Liebert. Whenever she engages with my Twitter content, I still get excited.
That's cool.
I do.
Yeah.
Who else? I mean, everybody's in love with Phil Ivey. Phil Ivey's just like the coolest dude to ever dude.
There's nobody cooler.
Yeah.
So let's touch on a couple of those people. Number one, I've said this before. I got something here. Oh, you were just, no, I thought you were doing this to me. No, you're just scratching your chin?
Yeah, I was.
I thought I had something hanging in the beard, because that happens.
Yeah, you got a little cum right here.
Oh, thank you. Let me get that off. I wasn't referring to cum, but whatever it is, it is. Could be the breakfast burrito, but either way. It could be either, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So one thing I will say, when you brought up Marley, I always said I think she's one of the funniest gals in poker. Her skits, I've said this before in a podcast, so it's not new. I just think she's the nuts. So that's it. On a second subject, I really like Jamie Kerstetter. I have heard on the street that she doesn't care for me, but I don't know the reason why. So I just want to say publicly, and I went on a podcast with her a long time ago, and she's commentated for us. So it was very sad to hear that. So hopefully I could meet up with her someday and talk. And
you're being messy.
What's that mean? What's that mean?
Like, you're just being messy. You're bringing up messy stuff.
Should I not?
You're being messy.
Should I not? Should we?
No, you're doing
Should
great.
I walk it back? No, I just wanted to say that if I see her, maybe we could be friends, because I like her. I don't have anything against her. And then Melissa also has some of the funniest trolls ever, and I want to say one of them, which is self-deprecating, and she didn't care for me either, because she's part of the Only Fans, Only Lies. What is it? Only Friends,
Oh my god!
Only Friends group.
I'm Switzerland over here.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
all the poker podcast
I do
families.
too. It's fine. Go watch their podcast. I don't care. But because of that controversy, she feels the same way. But she was on what podcast? Maybe it was Joey's or whatever, and she said, one of the reasons she left the show was because they were always talking about a 56-year-old man-child Joe Rogan wannabe. And I had a feeling that was me. So yeah. My logo's a circle. Why does it have to be that? Is it if your logo's a circle, does that just mean you're copying Joe Rogan? It doesn't say Joe Rogan, it says Nick Vertucci, and it doesn't say experience, it says show. And it's a lion. It's not even my picture.
Let's be fair. A lot of the aesthetics are a nod to Joe. Like, Joe's always like broadcasting from the most like raw wooded table and paneled walls.
That's really my style, but
I
want to
it.
make no excuses. Let's just go with it. Let's lean into I'm mini Joe Rogan.
Honey, the name of my podcast in Texas is the Texas Poker Experience. And like literally someone pitched that name to me, obviously because of Joe Rogan, and we never thought of a better idea, so we just went with it.
Oh, so you did that too?
Yeah, I don't care.
How come you don't get any shit?
I probably do. I'm just not listening. But like, why wouldn't you want to be like the most popular podcast to ever exist? Of course you would.
Yeah, duplication, right?
But also, that man-child dig was a really good one. Well
it
done,
was so
Poo Dog.
funny.
Well done.
56-year-old man-child Joe Rogan wannabe. I actually laughed out loud. Kudos to you, Melissa. I know you're not watching, but
she might.
She's
bestie. Maybe she'll check out my content.
Oh, because of you. Yes. That's good. I really don't have anything against her either. I wish you would like me. I like you. All right. So,
that might be why she's calling you a
Jamie,
man-child.
Melissa, I like you. All right.
Please, like Nick, you're making him very insecure.
Send me nice things. Okay. So tell me about your relationship with the Palm Social.
Okay, so that was the club when I talked about my first year in poker. I focused a lot on game organizing and working for a club. So I was a regular at this smaller club, and I wanted to get into this Friday night game that was really juicy. I really wanted to so I was there all the time, and I would like try to, and they let me in first off, and then they kicked me out because I won too much money, and I didn't know the poker etiquette at the time. I was like brand new. I was still working at the hotel the first few
like
times
you were
they
so
let me play
offended
at
when
a
you couldn't
game.
play again, probably, right?
I just didn't understand. Well, like I understood, but I just anyway, I was very relentless about trying to get back into that game, and I think that's where, and I bring it up just because I think that's that's why my relationship with the club grew, because I became obsessed with getting back into that game. Because like I said, I can have kind of an obsessive personality. And so I started organizing games there myself, these 2-5 games, and I got a relationship with the club. They sort of cut me in into like the club in general, and I redesigned their website and I took over their social media. I helped them launch their stream, and I was, propping up games that just like occurred naturally during the day, as well as organizing ones that I ran several days a week. And I was more like a club promoter, game organizer
Host,
than
yeah.
like a player, but I was probably making more money grinding back then just because of the volume. Like a huge thing about like being a poker grinder that's profitable is you have to get the type of volume in to watch that graph rise,
Totally.
So when I was playing at that club, I'm probably putting in between 60 and 80 hours, like a lot of just time on the felt. Like I would get there at 11 and a lot of times I'd leave at 2 a.m., several, like most days of the week. So that time was invaluable just in terms of like experience and time on the felt, and then also managing personalities. And if I want to go back into game organizing again, like if Jason from the lodge calls me up and is like, Caitlin, our 2-5 game needs a little loving and a little tender love and support. Will you come on and be a team player?
Yeah.
I feel like I have the skill set to do that and execute in a way that is competent.
Nice. Nice. No, it's good.
You know?
Have you had more opportunities since your popularity has grown? Like besides being here on the Nick Vertucci show?
I mean,
I
Nick
don't think you're
Vertucci
going to
show.
cap that, but are other doors opening for you?
Yeah, for sure. My your enemy, your mortal enemies, the other poker podcast community, the Only Friends, have had me on a couple of times. Joey had me on one of his live shows, and I've gotten to befriend him, and he's great because I can just hit him up for advice now. Like as people like offer me opportunities and stuff and be like, oh, these people want me to come out and promote for them. Like, what should I charge them? And he's been very available and helpful to me in terms of like growing my business like that. So shout out to Joey. And then, I don't know if after my first Hustler appearance, I wasn't welcome back or not. We'll have to ask Billy about that. But I got back. I'm back in the good graces of Max Payne Monday. So
why were you in the bad graces?
I told you that story.
Yeah, but
about
I don't
how,
remember what exactly it was, and then it wasn't clear to me.
Well, we may never know, or we may have to ask Billy, but like the first time I came and I won, and then I remember like I asked him for a last minute seat, and it was probably just like last minute, like someone was like, oh, you want to go to LA this weekend? So it was like 5 days before the show. I was just like, you don't happen to have a seat? And he said no. And then a Texas player was like, oh, they didn't like you. They thought you were fake and Southern and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but that's not confirmed. That's just somebody that said that, right?
He just said that. He just might have been trying to embarrass me in front of my friends.
And I will tell you this. Max Payne Monday seats like go out sometimes 60 days of being booked. They're very like in demand, and people are trying. So like a last minute thing would be. I would not read into that.
Yeah.
Personally.
But in terms of like opportunities, like, yeah, like I can literally just text Billy and be like, can I please come? And he's like, yeah,
course.
you got it.
Nice.
So that's, privilege.
Yep. So Texas Poker Experience podcast, your partner Craig, tell me about that.
So I have a podcast that I started last year. We have, I think, 23 or 24 episodes that we put out throughout the years, like one every other week. We talk about Texas poker issues. We have Texas poker personalities on as guests. Sort of our biggest guest we had an Andrew Nemi episode. Some of our other episodes that I would encourage people to check out is Poker Traveler, Seti, who you've seen on like the vlogger stream for WPT. And I think he's been out to visit the Hustler as well. He's a growing personality. He started his YouTube vlog. He was one of the OG Texas poker influencers on Instagram. That's a very funny episode. The episode was Seti. And then our most recent episode, we actually got to dive into the legality of the issue. I've had my personal friend who I worked with at Palm Social, Sam Von Kennel, on a couple of times to talk about his work. So basically how Texas poker became legal, like period, and we go over this in episode 1, is Sam Von Kennel had his dad was in the lobbying in Texas Congress. So that was his background. So Sam sort of had the relationships and the know-how to exploit this loophole and find a way to open the social club. So back in 2015, the original Texas Card House on Manchac that Sam opened, he did that using sort of his government savvy and his relationships from his father's work, and was able, so we call him the White Knight of Texas poker. He's a very legendary figure. And now he's forming he sold out his partnership of Texas Card House, so he's no longer a part of that family, but I think he's starting an association with a lot of the major Texas clubs to advocate for Texas poker, because the legality issue, it's still sort of like as it stands right now, it's like a city by city discretion. Like if you have a district attorney that maybe has someone in their pockets or decides that poker is bad for the community, they have the power to sort of revoke your certificate of operation, certificate of operation, away from you, and then you have to go through the whole appeals process to stay open, which is what we saw happen in Dallas with the Texas Card House there. And they've beaten that. And it does look like 732 is going to legitimize and put some protections around. And then off-duty, the huge thing that Sam educated me about that I've been telling people that I'm personally excited about is that once this bill passes that puts a little bit more legitimization and like protection around Texas poker, is that we'll be able to have off-duty police officers for security. So we can have like a squad car parked out front. So, and Texas poker is safe. The incidences of like being robbed or held up are very few and far between. Since I've been involved in Texas poker, I think I can think of like 3 that have happened in 3 years. Just off the top of my head. So it already is pretty safe, and all the major clubs have lockers available and security escorts, but having the squad car parked out front, just like the bingo halls have in other parts of town, I think, is great for Texas poker.
Well, listen, Caitlin, it's like this, for years, and I'm talking 23 years I've been playing poker. Every casino I've ever been to, the Bike, the Commerce, this, that, Texas, doesn't matter. Look, there's people that walk in and out with a lot of money. That is a target for... that's just a target. And, there's been advice coming in and out of casinos, no matter where you're at, Texas, California, doesn't matter. You have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to make sure, you look in your mirrors. People follow you home. They create fake accidents, where they get you to stop and then they rob you. So some of the people, we won't mention who, but like to lean into these topics and did whole shows on how horrible it is, and how this in Texas and the card room and even the lodge had their whatever, and a bunch of podcasts went nuts about like whatever. But this is common. This is not something that is new to the lodge that it happened to, or what you're referencing. This is just something you have to be very, very, very careful. I'll even say, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I got a text from Mayhem and Big John that they think that somebody was trying to stage a accident on Big John when he was leaving just a couple weeks ago. They just stopped right in front of him, slammed on their brakes. I forget the other details, and he wound up getting out of it. But he thought that it was an on purpose following him from the casino. You just have to be very careful, and probably recommended that if you're a regular player, you get a player bank or a box.
Yeah, and one beyond just like security escorts and safety deposit boxes is the lodge. I feel like I said it on a podcast, so maybe I can take credit for them doing this. But they have reserved spots for the stream players right out front, so that there are signs that are like, okay, on the days that we're running streams, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, at these times, these spots are reserved. Because when you're willing to like put yourself, in the thumbnail, and everybody is going to know exactly how much money and where you are, I think it's appropriate for the club to take certain precautions for you.
Yeah, absolutely, as they should. So yeah, for sure. So, tell me, speaking of the lodge, tell me about your relationship with them, your relationship inside the poker room when you're playing, and your relationship and how you met Doug.
Absolutely. So my relationship with Doug, we'll start with Doug, specifically started back last April. He decided to go off on one of his, tangents about Yumi Nu, who was the plus size model who got the cover of Sports Illustrated last year. And she's like a size 18 or 20, I think. She's a big lady. Yeah. But he sort of said some incendiary things about her not being healthy and her not being beautiful. And he just sort of like stood on his soapbox and was just kind of being like an obnoxious dude about it. And that night, I just sort of had the idea to be a little cheeky about it. And I was playing at the lodge the next day. They were having a big series at the time, and they were running a 700K event that was supposed to have like a massive overlay on it. So I tweeted a picture of me in my underwear, and I was like, hey y'all, Doug asked me to tell y'all that there's a huge overlay on this tournament tomorrow, and
God.
he was just so grateful to have a plus size micro influencer in the Texas poker community to get the word out.
Oh my
and
God.
that tweet did really, really well. That
Is
tweet
it
was
is
like my
up
most
right
popular
now if
tweet.
anyone wants to see you in your underwear?
Yeah, absolutely. If you follow me on Instagram, I
Tell
regularly
'em-
post
tell
photos
'em
in my
your-
underwear on my
your-
stories.
Tell them your Instagram and Twitter name.
Yeah, so it's Caitlin Comeskey, CaitlinComeskey. If you want to see me in my underwear and my bathing suit, you can follow me on my personal socials. I don't have an OnlyFans yet. No, I don't.
We're working on. We're working on. it.
We're working on
I want a 25% cut.
subscription to
Do you have nice?
Nick,
do you have,
Nick Vertucci, sex traffics,
do you
poker
have?
comedian.
Yeah. Just by that comment will be clipped out, and I'll be blackballed and Me Too'd. So if we do start this page, do you have nice feet?
No.
Shit, because there's such a
I get
market.
a pedicure like once every 3 months. I need to set up. I need to
You
step
better
up my
get your
game.
shit together because these guys, they really want to see the pigs.
No,
Okay.
I don't think that's what I have to offer this universe, this planet, is the attractiveness of my feet. But yeah, so anyway, I did that tweet that was like extremely popular, and just because I dunked on Doug Polk, so everybody loved it.
Yeah.
But what I always tell people when I tell that story is, to Doug's credit, he really took like full ownership of those comments.
Yeah.
The management, like the people that work at Lodge and the other owners, the Texas-based ones, were really disappointed in those comments, and they didn't appreciate them because, I mean, like, can you imagine working at the Lodge as a plus-size woman and you're like checking him in and out or dealing to him, and you have to look him in the eye and know he thinks like you're not deserving of being called beautiful or put on the cover of a magazine?
Yeah.
Because of how your body looks. I don't know. So I wanted to stand up for him, for his employees more so, was why I followed up with like talking about it on my vlog and on my podcast and sort of asking for there to be a little accountability there. And to his credit, he like absolutely 100% stood up. He let his employees tell him how they felt about it, and from everything that I hear, he like really, and he spoke to me about it at the time, and I was really proud and appreciative of how he handled that situation and didn't just go full like deny, fuck you, I get to think what I want, kind of a thing.
Well, I'll say two things. I've never seen him take that much heat over anything, but that was like the crescendo of him taking heat. And I've never seen him walk anything back. That's the first time I've ever seen that. So, but I do believe everyone has a right to do that, right? Has a right to say something and then go, wow, that was just kind of dumb.
100%.
So yeah, kudos to him.
And I mean, he didn't say anything like factually wrong. Like it's not great to be obese. It's not great to be very, very overweight.
He really leaned into the health part of it.
But like, at the same time, like we're in a southern state, and this is what I said on my vlog. It's just like a matter of manners.
Yeah.
It's like a matter of being polite. Like that's just not how we operate down there. It's just this like nastiness.
No, I get it. I get it. Well, yeah. On that subject, you had some notes here that you wrote: bullies, adversary, and enemies. Do you want to like talk on? I'm going to ask you about the Jack forehand. I ask all my guests.
Love it.
So we could get into that, and you had written down those three things. Do you have some thoughts on those particular things, or anything you want to
I
talk
definitely
about?
do think, because poker is a male-dominated space, and poker, exists a lot on like Twitter, Reddit, Discord, sort of these forums that are heavily populated by the incel types, and white, horny men that feel like, the world owes them something and they're not attractive to women. So fuck women, and they hate women. So I know me and a lot of women in the poker space get like a lot of attention from those incels. And I've given myself the permission to just insta block, just like absolutely snack block. I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it. And it's my page and I don't have to. And like, yeah, it's your right to tell me like, oh, you look like you enjoy a Big Mac, or like, oh, you're a big lady. But like,
why would anyone?
I don't need to look at that, and I don't want to.
Why would anyone do that? I don't understand it.
I
I just don't.
it's in a way they want attention. They see you getting attention, so it's like, okay, how can I get her attention? Oh, probably by saying, if I just am another person saying like, oh, this is funny content, I like you, like she won't see me. But if I say something devastating, you know, maybe I'll be seen.
So mean. I just don't like it.
Sometimes you get like funny trolls though that go after, like you were talking about how Melissa got you with the man-child comment. One time somebody created a fake account and like made a bunch of comments on my Instagram posts accusing me of having man hands. And so that's like a big joke between me and my other podcast host Craig, is like my man hands, even though they're actually kind of like small and dainty.
You don't really have man hands.
I think it's the pronouncement of the knuckles.
You have big knuckles?
Really deep. Well, no, they're just like deep grooves.
Oh,
deep grooves in the knuckles.
Okay.
Maybe they're not very like long and like slender ballerina like fingers.
No, but they're not man hands. I wouldn't want your hands, right? So I think they're still women.
There are no
hands.
calluses.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's why it's been slow.
Yeah,
It's been a slow summer.
Exactly. Once I get out in the field.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to talk on that, or did you blow your wad on that side?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you good? You good?
I'm completely spent.
All right. Just a couple minutes on this subject if you want. What do you think of the whole Hustler Casino Live controversy? Anything you want to talk about it? The hand, Robbie, if you don't want to, or what you've seen the poker community do through it. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah. So I think first off, there's a reason why it took over the poker community and made mainstream news, is because that's an outrageous hand.
Sure. Like
calling for $100,000 with Jack High is outrageous, and it's appropriate for there to be questions and attention around it.
Couldn't agree more.
You know? So first off, like absolutely, it was outrageous. And then I think Robbie is a good character for the community. I'm excited to see your interview with her and her live chat. She seems to be very interested in being a public figure within poker and has embraced the attention and, is a willing participant. And I think that she's a good character for us. I like sort of her fuck you attitude at time, her devil may care attitude. She's just very, in her body and herself. And I think she's fabulous. And I hope she's around for a long time playing poker and entertaining us. What else do I want to say about Jack 4? I think I very much understood that she was like nervous and flustered. And from the very beginning, I thought she was cheating because, and I told you this yesterday, like I feel like a lot of people got tipped off, like because of Discord channels or like having, whatever group chats that they're on with poker people. I feel like the news spread out before it aired live, like, yo, Garrett left the stream early because he thought someone was cheating.
Right.
So most of us that are like, plugged into the community and have like any type of, direct access to that
was the
we
headline.
knew it was coming. And
right.
So like we already had sort of made up our minds before we saw it. So it was sort of a confirmation bias when we were able to like imbue meaning onto her different reactions in terms of, I thought it was outrageous that she was like, you made me do this to you, and how she taunted him right after. And I don't know that he walks off and like throws the fit and, accuses her publicly the way that he does if she didn't taunt him the way that she did afterwards. Yeah. I don't think a lot of people talk about the stuff that she said right after the hand in terms of like, you made me do this to you, or I did this to you the other day, and sort of like her dunking on him because she made a correct play.
Yeah, and obviously the thought process is, why did you make that play? Because it makes no sense. But I'm not going to give away. Well, I won't be able to give away because this will come on after Robbie's. So I was going to say I don't want to give it away, so I could talk about it because she said it. Yeah, we talked about that, and at first she said she didn't even realize he thought that there was something nefarious. She just thought he was mad at her. And so she got nervous, and she got nervous. And that, again, this is up for everyone to believe. I'm not spitting it saying I believe it, not believe it. Unless I know for sure, I can't say, but I could just say what she said. And she finally explained why she changed her narrative so many times. But she just said she was nervous. He's a big deal. She knows he dictated a lot of the lineups, had a lot of say. She was a little bit panicked. And then this is what her last stance was. She said on my podcast was that she literally thought, again, you can believe what you want. I'm not saying I believe it or don't believe it. I'm just saying this is what she said, and I'm giving you the information, is that she really thought she had Jack 3. She had Jack 3 the hand before. She said that she was looking at her cards for like 15, 20 seconds, but she was staring through them. I've done that personally where I've missed my hand even with my hand up because I'm just in the tank or maybe nervous or confused or whatever she was. And then was, because she did make the comment, is a 3 good? And then she was embarrassed and then did a video after and said she was kind of, I don't want to say asked, but maybe prompted by Ryan, like, how could you say you thought had Jack 3 because you looked at your cards for like 20 seconds? Like, that doesn't make sense. You're going to like look bad. So she didn't lean into what she said is the truth because of that comment. So we, whoever wants to believe that can believe that. And it's funny because when I put up on social media that I'll be dropping her podcast on the Monday, and then I'll be doing the live thing on Tuesday. One of my close friends, Mike Mattisau, blasted me. I mean, he blasted me on his podcast.
Another 56-year-old man baby.
Yeah, he put it a little different, and he misquoted me about some of the things I was saying. That I said that how could I have her on, that I'm selling out for clicks. And I finally got him on the phone. I actually went on his podcast, said, Mike, you're crazy. I said, selling out for clicks is me doing, bringing a bunch of people on, saying a bunch of things that are not true and milking it. Me just asking someone questions that everyone wants to know the answer to, I don't think is anything. And I never said I hated her. I never said that. What I said was, I hate what she's doing. And I still to this day could say that. I hate that when this happened, her narrative changed 4 times back and forth. I hated that she leaned so heavy into it and seemed like none of this affected her at first, like almost sociopathic. And he misquoted me and said that I hate her, called her sociopathic. That's not true. And he went back on air and he admitted that it was a little bit bullish. But I took a lot of heat from him. I don't know if I'm going to take heat from others too, like that I'm just trying to promote drama. I'm really not. The poker community wants to know what she has to say, and they have questions for her. And I still lean on, you can believe what you want. I don't know. I mean, believe what you want. Like, there is no hard factual facts either way. And so draw your own determination, Yeah.
And the one thing that I brought up to you when we were speaking about it off air yesterday was, I think a complicating factor that was there from the very beginning was the nature of her relationship with Rip and everyone's questions around that. Like, Doug probably put out the video that he did the very next day where he said it as fact, as like gospel, that they were in a relationship together and people knew that they were dating or whatever. Yeah. And I mean, that's 2 marriages that are involved.
I know.
So I think everybody's behavior being a little frantic and odd around that is not at all surprising when there are children and marriages involved,
Yeah. It's like this. If you're going to cheat and you're going to cheat in cahoots with somebody, let's say it's Rip, you don't need to be fucking him to cheat, right? So point is okay, if you're interested in that, I guess you're just interested in that because that has no bearing on what the truth is. You can cheat with someone that you're close to in a non-intimate relationship, but I think people are just drawn to the TMZ type of gossip. And they brought that into it because, like I said, I don't know how that plays into it, yes or no, because there are a lot of people in the poker community and other chess and different things that have cheated that are not having sexual, that are in cahoots that have. So it's just silly.
Yeah,
it's
and I don't know the truth. I haven't asked anybody or cared, but I mean, it was like a scintillating part of the story. And I mean,
it is.
And like right when everything started to die down and people quit asking and caring about it, all of a sudden there they are at an NFL game, like making the national coverage.
You can't make that up.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then Savannah chimed in and had her thoughts, and I'll leave her the hell alone because I know she's going through it. But
totally,
it's it's scintillating.
Yeah, that's rough, and there's a lot of personal relationships in that. And again, this podcast is going to be after she came on and she admitted what her exact relationship was with him. And for those of you who don't know, go watch the episode and you could hear it out of her mouth. I'm not going to repeat it. Those are her words. Let her hear them from her, not me. But it took a lot of guts, in my opinion, to say what she said on my podcast, because I was not prepared when I asked her the question to have such honesty. Now, did she go the full route with all the honesty? I don't know. Who knows? But that's her business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just assume everybody's up on the up and up. Nobody's hurt anybody because I don't want people to be sad or unhappy.
Totally. Unhappy.
Unhappy.
Okay. Couple questions and then I'll let you have the last word. Any future poker goals that you want to accomplish in your poker career?
I definitely want to get my bankroll, like immediate goal is I want my bankroll to be healthy enough to play 1025 as my main game.
Yeah.
Another goal, I would love to have some more tournament results this year, and I would love to finish one out. I would love a first place finish, and I don't really care if that first place finish is a lot less than my second place finishes or whatever, but I want to win a heads up battle.
Good, yeah.
And one thing that everyone knows about me at the lodge is I don't chop, and lodge is pretty notorious for experiencing a lot of chops towards the end. And I'm not saying I'll never take a chop if it's not like within my best interest to do so. But for the most part, I work really, really hard on my game. And when I have the opportunity to play for 100K, I'm going to roll the dice and you're going to have to beat me.
Totally.
And that's,
Well, I hope you get there. That'll be exciting. One thing before I give you the last question that I wanted to ask you, reminded me of it. You recently, we talked about your downswing, and you recently, I think you said you were at the lodge and you were forced to play the stand-up game and you lost your shit.
Yeah, I had a meltdown. So this was actually the second time I did well in the tournament and got second on Halloween. It was like right around Halloween weekend. The very next day I had already been scheduled to be on the stream, the Monday stream that starts at like 2 or whatever. And I had asked Skull Mike if I could be on, who runs the streams at the lodge. I had asked him like really early on if I could be on that stream, and he was like, yeah, and he accommodated it. And I reminded him beforehand, and he was like, yeah, absolutely, got you. But when I ran so deep in the tournament, I was, there till like almost like 3 a.m. So, and then like after you have a deep run in a tournament, like I get like a huge surge of adrenaline. So it's not like I went out and partied and celebrated my win. I more so was just like wired and couldn't sleep. So I showed up and I was in costume. To my credit, I honored my commitment, but I was like sleep deprived. I was not my best self. I was really amped up. And I always assumed that I had like the right to refuse straddles and like prop games. Like it had never been made clear to me, and if it had and I missed it, my apologies, but it had never, like, I didn't think like I was going to be forced to play a stand-up game when I didn't want to, because like I had worn high heels, I was exhausted, like I didn't want to stand. I thought I was tired, and I just, I was already giving like loose action. I had won a bunch of money the night before. I knew like I was being like fun and outrageous, and I was providing a good like entertainment value of my presence at the table. Like I didn't feel like I had to play the stand-up game too. But I think the lodge, that's like a huge, and because I'm not like there every week, I hadn't realized how integral the stand-up game had become to their stream. Is it? They play it 2 to 3 times on every single one of their streams, to the point where it's like a requirement and it's an assumption. And I apologized personally to Skull Mike. I apologized personally to. Did you flip everyone off? I did flip off some people.
You flipped people off and then left?
Yeah, I flipped people off on the way out. And like, to the lodge's credit, they did a really good job of maybe like cutting around my bad behavior and like helping me out when people were like, yeah, it was on air. They did, like Skull Mike and Slick Rick, they had my back, and they didn't let people take me to task too bad. And hopefully everyone was pretty understanding of like the extenuating circumstances that made me not show up in my best way possible. But I haven't been back on the stream since then, actually. Not because like I refuse to or there's bad blood there. I love all those guys. My relationship with the lodge is very positive. I consider it my homeroom in Austin. If you're at the lodge and you want to come play at the lodge, like totally hit me up. That's my room. But
hit her up and then ignore her.
Yeah, and then ignore. Yeah. And then like nag me.
Be indifferent.
But yeah, no, I don't love the stand-up game. I'm trying to get over that mental block specifically, especially since it is so integral to the lodge stream specifically at my home club. But I understand why they like it. It loosens up the game. It loosens up action. People get more desperate to win. They want to sit. They don't want to pay the bounty.
Yeah.
And
Well, I was in Vegas some months back, and I was in Bobby's room, and that's a thing there too.
Yeah.
And so I had to do it for the first time. I hated it.
Yeah.
Literally hated it. And then now Doug's asked me to come out and maybe play in February when they launch, and I'd like to support him, but am I going to have to stand up?
I don't know. That's a question for him, because I know like these 2550 and like specialty streams where they have like a lot. They're relaunching their stream. They built like a whole new studio.
Yeah.
So kudos to the lodge. They're gonna really be upping the ante in terms of their production
Totally.
quality and a lot of different things. So
good.
I don't know with like these big, like the 2550s, or like if you're playing 5100, if they're gonna require stand-up games to that level. But typically, yes, the lodge is
That's the thing.
big fan of the stand-up.
Well, the
game.
good thing about our place is when you stand up, you impair some of the cameras, so we're always asked to sit down if we're standing around a table.
You don't
so
have to play it.
That is so great. It's like you have to sit down, like no problem. So, all right. So, got.
But like, and another huge thing, like when I first started playing, and I've lost a little weight, so like my full body shot looks a little better than it did before. But when they first started making me play it all the time, I was just insecure because I'm like, that's a bad angle for me, y'all.
Oh my God, I get it.
I'm like, God,
Yeah.
my fucking fat ass does not look good from that angle. Help me out here.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, hey, that's
It's
just.
cool. I've taken like several dozen spin classes since
It's just
then, so we
honesty,
look-
right?
we
Well,
look
see,
fine.
so maybe the stand-up
I have an
game,
honesty problem
maybe
in
the
that I'm
stand-up
too.
game has helped you.
It might have.
It's
yeah.
motivated you to spin, whatever.
Maybe.
Sit and spin. Anyways, how about personal goals? Kids, things, grandkids.
I'm ready to
Go to
find,
the moon.
No, I'm like ready to find my husband. It was so hilarious because my poker coach was having like a very serious conversation with me, and some other support people were there, and one of the support people was like, what do you want to happen this year? What is your goal for this year? And I was like, I want to find my husband.
Really? Nice.
No, I definitely like I'm ready to
Yeah.
start a family in that
Good.
sense. I mean, I'm 33. It's time for me to
Yeah, you get there. I
to
think
find
you'll
my
do great.
person,
I'll do great.
be
yeah.
a mother,
Good.
traumatize some children of my
Yes.
own.
Just beat them down into nubs. All right, so gonna give you the last word. Do you have one? Do you have any final thoughts? Anything you want to say to anyone? Anything before we close?
No, thanks for having me out here. If I said anything that offended you, it was Nick's fault, and Nick made me say it, and he paid me to say it.
It's always my fault, just so you know. It's always my fault. All right, this is the Nick Vertucci Show. I am Nick Vertucci. This is Caitlin
Comeskey.
Comeskey.
Caitlin from Texas.
Caitlin from Texas. Envy out.